Recently, online reports surfaced about a tense confrontation between urban management officers and vendors at the Hailey World Night Market in Guandu District, Kunming, Yunnan. Witnesses said that angry vendors threw items from their stalls toward the officers and police who arrived. Several vendors were reported injured, some were detained, and their food carts, essential to their livelihood, were removed from the site. Observers described the scene as chaotic, with pots, pans, stools, and chairs flying everywhere. No official statement on the incident has yet been released. According to a video posted by Twitter user X yesterday, the confrontation lasted for nearly 6 hours at the Hailey World Night Market on Yongjong Road, Guandu District, from the evening of September 27th until the early morning of September 28th. Vendors resisted efforts to remove them, leading to repeated scuffles with urban management officers and police. Eyewitnesses described the market atmosphere as chaotic, saying pots, pans, stools, and chairs were flying everywhere. Reports from the scene said that a large number of police officers arrived later to provide reinforcements, and several heated exchanges broke out. The disorder and standoff eventually subsided around 3 a.m. the following morning. During the clashes, several vendors were taken to the hospital for treatment, while others were detained by police. Their food carts were also confiscated by urban management officials, which attracted large crowds of curious onlookers. The background of the incident traces back to the local government's decision to close the night market 2 weeks earlier under so-called rectification measures. After the closure, officials began soliciting vendors and collecting stall fees. According to the vendors, the thriving atmosphere at Hailey World Night Market had been built slowly through years of effort, even though most of them earned only a modest income each day. They were upset that just as the business started to show signs of recovery, the market was closed down again under the pretext of rectification, and fees were immediately collected. When vendors attempted to register as required, they discovered that more than 400 stalls had already been listed, many of which they claimed were not part of the original night market. As a result, they refused to pay the new charges. They also explained that they had already paid significant amounts in various fees before, but policies kept shifting, and enforcement measures continued even after fees were collected. This left many of them feeling uncertain about whether their payments offered any security. For many families, setting up stalls at the market was their only source of income, and the prolonged closure left them under severe financial stress. On September 27th, after learning that rectification measures had reportedly ended the day before, they returned to their usual spots to resume business. Around 9 p.m., a large number of urban management officers arrived and attempted to evict the vendors, but the vendors refused to leave, which triggered the confrontation. Videos circulating online show heated quarrels, scuffles, and people throwing items during the standoff. Several vendors appeared to be restrained by officers, and some individuals seemed to have been injured and taken for medical treatment. The situation was chaotic and drew hundreds of onlookers before gradually calming down. On September 30th, Singtao Daily reported that the incident lasted nearly 6 hours and involved multiple confrontations between vendors and urban management officers at the night market in Kunming, Yunnan Province. Pots, pans, stools, and chairs were seen being hurled during the standoff. Officials have not issued an official report on the matter, and it remains unclear how many people were injured or detained. In response, many internet users commented on the hardships faced by street vendors, pointing out that it is extremely difficult for them to survive under such conditions. Some expressed frustration over the lack of domestic news coverage on the incident, while others voiced sympathy for the vendors who are struggling to make a living. Online discussions highlighted the broader social and economic pressures that small vendors face, emphasizing their reliance on night markets as their primary source of income. A wave of unemployment is sweeping across China. China is facing an unprecedented employment storm, one that is sweeping through its largest cities and striking directly at the heart of its youth. Job fairs that were once orderly recruitment events have now become scenes of chaos, where seas of desperate graduates fight over a handful of opportunities. The country's job market is collapsing under pressure, and millions of young people are being forced into a struggle that seems to have no way out. In 2025, the number of new university graduates will hit a record-breaking 12.22 million, 430,000 more than in 2024. But as graduates flood into the market, the demand for talent is shrinking. In city after city, job fairs have turned into desperate spectacles. At Heilongjiang University's graduate fair on September 15th, the numbers told the brutal truth: 110,000 applicants competing for just 9,000 positions. Across China, similar job fairs have been suffocatingly crowded, with hopeful graduates queuing for hours just to hand in a resume. Knowing the odds are stacked heavily against them, Mr. Zhou, a graduate student from Central South University, described the suffocating pressure. Even if you are exceptional, it doesn't matter when the market doesn't want you. The competition is insane. State-owned enterprises and big firms have only a few openings. Liberal arts students like us are basically invisible. In China, you work harder than anyone, but still get nothing. Ms. Zhang, who graduated earlier this year, shared her own disappointment. At a recent job fair, she realized that only master's graduates from top 985 and 211 universities were given interviews. Undergraduates like me weren't even considered. It's humiliating. I applied for both spring and fall recruitment. In the end, I discovered that most of the positions were already reserved for science majors. For us, it feels hopeless. For employers, the situation is equally telling. Mr. Chen, a private enterprise manager, explained the new reality. Because profits are shrinking, companies want immediate returns. They don't want to waste money training inexperienced graduates. Instead, they look for people from elite universities, 985s and 211s, because they're seen as ready-made talent. If you don't fit that standard, you're out. The expansion of university enrollment in recent years has made matters worse. With millions of new graduates every year, the supply of educated labor has far exceeded market demand. A decade ago, a university degree was seen as a ticket to a secure job. Now, it is little more than a piece of paper for many, offering no protection from unemployment. Even graduates with master's degrees or doctorates are finding themselves underemployed, forced to accept low-paying jobs outside their fields, or no jobs at all. Public data paints a bleak picture. Among the 12.22 million graduates in 2025, more than 6 million will be undergraduates, 4 million associate degree holders, over 1 million master's students, and more than 100,000 doctoral graduates. The number is staggering, but the opportunities are not there. Entire generations are facing the reality of sending out hundreds of applications and receiving nothing but silence in return. The human toll is already visible online. On Chinese social media, young people are posting about their frustration and despair. Long hours spent job hunting, rejection letters piling up, and the crushing anxiety of explaining to parents why they are still unemployed. Many say they no longer see a future in the cities, but have no alternative path. Some graduates call themselves the lost generation, trapped between ambition and a collapsing job market. The wave of unemployment is not only a personal tragedy, it is also a social and economic crisis. Families that invested everything in their children's education now find themselves burdened with debt and shattered expectations. Local governments, already under heavy financial strain, cannot create enough public sector jobs to absorb the flood of graduates. Private companies, squeezed by shrinking profits and slowing growth, continue to slash recruitment. China's youth once believed hard work and education would guarantee success. Now, that belief is eroding. The country's brightest graduates are learning that even the most prestigious degrees may no longer provide a lifeline. The storm of unemployment is tearing through China's biggest cities, leaving behind fear, anger, and uncertainty, and the question of whether the system can withstand the pressure of millions of futures left hanging in the balance. China's economy is sliding into deeper decline, and the effects are spreading across every sector. Factories and workshops are shutting down, leaving production lines idle and workers without income. Retail and service industries are also shrinking as consumer confidence collapses. The wave of closures is erasing millions of jobs and fueling despair among young people and middle-class families. As unemployment rises, the promise of education and hard work no longer guarantees survival. If this downward trend continues, the strain on society will become unbearable. Prolonged hardship may trigger unrest and resistance, shaking the stability that the government depends on.
A few days ago, a company contacted me to hire an accounting assistant for 1,500 yuan a month, no meals or lodging. Rent 800 yuan, utilities at least 150, even eating 2 instant noodles a day costs over 300. After expenses, 1,500 yuan isn't enough to survive. This isn't working. It's paying to work. I asked HR if the salary could be increased. They said, fresh graduates should be grateful to have a job. If you don't want it, plenty will. When do we retire? Work until you can't, then retire. On September 28th, the National Bureau of Statistics released a report claiming China had 857.98 million people, aged 16-59, 60.9% of the population. Mainland cultural worker Mr. Long said these numbers are for show, deceiving domestic people into thinking China's economy is strong and giving foreign investors false confidence. Industrial growth, military, economy, politics, culture, everything is unreliable, everything is fake. Even graduate employment numbers have stopped being published. This is an evil regime. This is an unreliable regime. Filthy, shameless, beyond words. Nobody cares what you eat or drink, but if you speak, they care. If you listen, they care. If you feel, they care. Even when you share your happiness, someone pays attention. Yesterday, I worked 12 hours and was exhausted. If there's a next life, I would never let anyone force me to climb this high again. Life is too hard. I'm hungry. Honestly, I keep working because if I don't, I won't even have food. Farmers cannot change their fate. In the 21st century, hard work barely feeds us. As long as I can survive, it's enough. But life is unbearably difficult. I have a 3-year-old child at home who can't feed himself. I must feed him. Next life, if I can choose, I would never come here. It's too exhausting. Everyone is forced to go to the construction site. I don't even know what happiness means anymore. I started working at 15, doing backbreaking labor, always exhausted. At Zhonghua Garden, 80% of the people are young workers like me, drained, desperate, broke. At first, the cost of living seems low, but every day it adds up. A typical day costs at least 50 yuan, and when you run out, you're forced to take night shifts just to survive. Night shifts in Kunshan pay 10-15 yuan per hour, slightly more in logistics, but it's literally risking your life for money. Most people can't handle it. Here's a real story. An older sister stayed at the animation park for months. With no money and no one to borrow from, she had to take day shifts, 12 hours for about 140 yuan. Night shifts were slightly easier, allowing secret phone use. Meals were included, but conditions were so harsh, even a dog would shake its head. Yet she signed up anyway. The first shift was full, the second, they counted faces, and she still didn't get in. 12-hour shifts for 140 yuan. Who would choose this life? I'm from a small county in Shanxi. I started working in 2014. Over 11 years, my salary went from 1,000 yuan to barely 2,300 yuan. Not from ambition, just from changing jobs. Had I stayed, I'd still make 1,000 yuan. Many local public kindergarten teachers live like this, earning only 1,300 to 400 yuan after insurance. Life in small towns is harsh. Only civil servants escape it. The rest just survive. Daily work wears you down. My body suffered just to go to class every day. The People's Daily says we shouldn't lie flat, but I've been lying flat at home for nearly 2 months. I graduated from Shenzhen University 7 years ago, and now, unemployed. My last job, a school dorm supervisor, paid just over 3,000 yuan per month after social insurance. A year passed. I saved nothing. Expenses consumed everything. Transportation, food, social needs, nothing left. I had no choice but to resign and lie flat. At home now, my costs are low. No mortgage, no car loan, no children. Hardship surrounds everyone. People wait hours for work, exhausted, hoping to survive. Many say, we are supervisors, we don't fear hardship. But the truth is undeniable. Through bypassing the firewall, Chinese citizens see the CCP's corruption firsthand. Economic depression stems from this corruption. Many now formally renounce CCP organizations. A mainland citizen using the name Zhongyuan Kaiyun says, today's domestic market is bleak. Supermarkets are empty. Ordinary people are struggling, and it's all tied to CCP corruption. Believing in karma, he also renounces CCP organizations.